You know that feeling when you're at an arcade? Like maybe you're sitting in one of those big racing game cabinets and you grab the plastic steering wheel.
Oh yeah, the ones with the pedals and everything.
Exactly. And you're turning it left and right. You're like leaning into the curves, hitting the gas, just feeling incredibly skilled.
Totally in the zone.
Right. And then after about, I don't know, 30 seconds of intense focus, you look up at the top corner of the screen and you see those flashing words, insert coin.
Oh no.
Yeah. You realize the game is just like running its automated demo mode. You were never driving. You were just twisting a piece of plastic while the screen did whatever it was programmed to do.
That is, it's a deeply humbling realization, honestly. You get that sudden visceral drop in your stomach. It's like the absolute illusion of control just shattered in an instant.
It's totally jarring. But I mean, here's the thing. You step out of the arcade and back into the real world, and somehow we all immediately convince ourselves we're back in the driver's seat.
Right. We think we have our hands firmly on the steering wheel of our lives.
Exactly. And today, we're challenging that assumption with something incredibly intimate. For this deep dive, we've got our hands on a collection of handwritten, deeply personal philosophical notes.
Yeah, and they're fascinating.
They really are. You can almost feel the texture of the paper and see the urgency in the ink. And they tackle one of the most fundamental human struggles we all face, which is that exact illusion of control.
What makes these notes so compelling to me is that they aren't just theoretical musings from some armchair philosopher.
Right.
The author is actively working through a profound crisis of agency. They're trying to map out a real, actionable strategy to survive it.
Yeah, it's a survival guide almost.
Exactly. And the shift they describe, moving from trying to manage this totally uncontrollable external environment to mastering an internal emotional landscape, it's a complete paradigm shift.
It really is. This isn't just a fun philosophical exercise. It's an absolute mental health necessity in our modern world. I mean, we're bombarded by external stimuli we have zero power over every single day.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the mission of our deep dive today is to really decode these reflections and extract a highly practical toolkit for you.
A step-by-step guide, really.
Exactly. We want to give you the tools to shift from that external frustration to absolute internal emotional mastery. Because, we all have those days where we feel like we're just passengers in our own lives, locked in the trunk while the car careens down the highway.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's start right at the foundation. The notes begin with some incredibly blunt questions. They basically ask, do we actually have free will to choose our environment? Do we get to choose the people around us?
And it's a tough question to swallow.
It is. And the author's resounding answer, written right there on the page, is no. We cannot reliably control our environment, our work, our boss, our kids, or our partners. Which goes entirely against our modern conditioning, right?
Yeah.
We're taught from childhood that if you just work hard enough or, communicate clearly enough or plan meticulously enough, you can manage your surroundings.
Right. Be the master of your destiny.
Exactly. But the author points out something critical here. They say that contradicting external reality is the primary source of human suffering.
Contradicting reality.
Yeah, think about the mechanics of what that word means. To contradict. It means to speak against, to oppose.
Okay.
When the environment forces its agenda upon your day and your internal response is simply, no, this shouldn't be happening, you're contradicting reality. And fighting reality is a battle that reality wins 100% of the time.
Oh, okay. I'm tracking with you, but I've got to push back on this a little bit.
Sure.
I'm thinking about someone listening right now who isn't just dealing with like a bad commute or a rude barista. What if the external reality is a sudden layoff or a devastating health diagnosis or, a partner walking out on them?
It's a high-stakes stuff.
Right. If I can't control my environment or how these massive life events unfold, doesn't that make me just a totally helpless victim? Are we really just supposed to roll over and accept terrible things?
I'm so glad you brought up those high-stakes scenarios.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly where this philosophy is truly tested. It feels like surrender, right? And our culture equates surrender with weakness.
Totally. It feels like giving up.
But let's look at the psychology of what's actually happening when you try to control a crisis like a layoff or a severe relationship breakdown.
Okay.
Your brain is essentially a prediction machine. It constantly wants to know what's going to happen next so it can keep you safe.
Right. Survival instinct.
Exactly. So when your partner suddenly acts unpredictably, or your company goes under. The brain registers that lack of predictability as a literal threat to your physical survival.
It's like a tiger in the bushes.
Yes. So it pumps you full of stress hormones to force you to fix the external environment.
Right, so you go into overdrive, you start micromanaging, obsessing, trying to, force your partner to stay, or frantically sending out 500 resumes in a blind panic at 3 a.m.
Exactly. But it's an illusion. The notes reveal that the suffering isn't just coming from the event itself. A massive portion of the suffering comes from your exhaustion in trying to control the uncontrollable.
Oh, wow.
You think, if I don't stress about this, if I don't try to manipulate the outcome, everything will fall apart. But letting go of external control isn't giving up. It's actually the ultimate act of taking charge.
Wait, how is letting go taking charge?
It's a ruthlessly pragmatic economic decision about where you spend your limited biological and mental energy. By dropping the delusion that you can force the external world to comply with your wishes, you reallocate all that wasted energy to the only place you have true agency.
Which is your internal reaction.
Precisely, your internal state.
Okay, that reframes it entirely. It's less about giving up and more about, cutting your losses on a bad investment. You're bleeding energy trying to control other people. It actually reminds me of the psychology of codependency. We try to control a partner's drinking or their mood because we think their state dictates our safety, and it just destroys us.
That's a perfect parallel. You're tethering your internal stability to something inherently unstable.
Yeah.
And the author ponders a really fascinating follow-up question here.
Oh.
Yeah, they ask whether it's artificial to forcefully choose to be happy.
Yeah.
If the world is throwing chaos at you, say you did just lose your job, is it fake or delusional to just decide to feel calm or even good anyway?
See, I struggle with that one because modern therapy speaks constantly about, feeling your feelings. Yeah. If you're angry, process the anger. If you're sad, grieve.
Right. Don't bottle it up.
Yeah. Pasting a smile over a genuine crisis feels like toxic positivity to me, and frankly, a bit pathological.
And the notes actually align with the psychological consensus on that, but with a massive crucial caveat. They state very clearly that all human emotions are valid. They're unique to the human race, part of our complex evolutionary biology. However, and this is the key distinction the author introduces, they should only be experienced where they are needed.
Where they are needed. Okay, let's ground that for a total beginner. What's the mechanism there? Why do we need them, and when do they outlive their usefulness?
Think about the evolutionary purpose of an emotion. It's an internal chemical signal designed to prompt an immediate external action.
Sure.
Let's say you're driving and someone swerves into your lane at 70 miles an hour. Your amygdala spots the threat before your conscious mind even registers it.
Right.
It floods your system with adrenaline and cortisol. You feel this intense, explosive flash of fear and anger. That emotion is 100% valid and necessary. It heightens your reflexes to slam on the brakes and save your life.
It served its biological purpose perfectly.
Exactly.
But the problem the notes are pointing out is what happens after the car passes, right? Because I don't just feel the anger for the 3 seconds it takes to brake.
Right.
I let that annoying stranger who almost hit me move into my guest bedroom. I literally give them free rent in my head for a week.
Yes.
I'm fuming when I get to work. I'm replaying the scenario while I'm making dinner. I'm still feeling the anger.
Exactly. We allow a fleeting external provocation to become a chronic emotional state. Biologically, your body isn't designed to process a steady drip of cortisol for 5 days straight just because someone cut you off.
God, no. It's exhausting.
When we let emotions go on day over day, waiting for them to slowly subside naturally, we're essentially poisoning our own well.
Yeah.
The emotion is no longer needed, but we're forcing our bodies to endure it.
We're doing it because we don't know how to evict that squatter from the guest bedroom. We just lack the toolkit. But the notes mention that biology actually provides us with a built-in reset option.
It does.
And it's sleep.
Yes. Have you ever noticed how, no matter how furious or devastated you are, after a full night's deep sleep, the sharp, visceral edge of that emotion is usually blunted the next morning?
Oh, totally. Let me sleep on it isn't just an old wives' tale. Things almost always look different in the morning.
Right, and there's a profound neurological mechanism behind that. During deep sleep, particularly during certain cycles, your brain's glymphatic system essentially opens up and washes neurotoxic waste, including accumulated stress chemicals out of your brain.
Like a literal wash cycle.
Exactly like that.
Yeah.
And at the same time, REM sleep processes emotional memories. It strips away the visceral charge of the emotion so you can store the memory without the pain. Biology uses sleep to force an emotional reset.
But here's the author's brilliant point, and this is where it gets highly practical. Why should I have to suffer for 16 hours waiting for bedtime just to get that reset?
Right.
If the world throws a wrench in my day at 9 a.m., my guest bedroom is full of angry squatters, and sleep is a long, long way off. How do I hit the internal reset button manually, like right then and there?
The notes offer some very specific physical interventions for this, relying on the fact that the mind and body are an interconnected loop. You can't always just think your way out of a feeling because the feeling is housed in your physical tissue.
Oh, that's so true.
So they suggest using the body to hack the mind. They advise taking a quick walk, engaging in minimal exercise, or even putting on a favorite song and dancing a bit to change the mood faster.
Dancing. I mean, I have to be honest. If I'm in the middle of a massive stress spiral because I just found out, say, my project budget was slashed, the idea of doing a little dance in my office seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
My mind is just screaming too loudly for that.
I get that. I'd frame it slightly differently. It's not about doing a happy little jig while your world is burning.
Okay, good.
It's about violently breaking a somatic pattern. Let's introduce a concept here that perfectly illustrates this advanced implementation, especially when dealing with intense, provoked emotions that are biologically trapped in your body. Let's talk about dynamic meditation,
Okay.
specifically the methods developed by Osho.
Oh, interesting. Because whenever I hear meditation, I picture, sitting perfectly still on a cushion, chanting Om and trying to empty my mind, which is frankly impossible for me when I'm stressed.
Oh, it's impossible for most people.
Yeah, if I try to sit still when I'm furious, the pressure cooker just builds. I end up more stressed.
And Osho recognized that exact problem. He argued that modern humans are fundamentally different from people living thousands of years ago. We are deeply repressed, we're highly caffeinated, and we're drowning in sensory overload.
Sounds about right.
So asking a stressed modern professional to just sit silently is like putting a tight lid on a boiling pot of water. It doesn't stop the boiling, it just guarantees an explosion.
Right. So what's the alternative? How does this dynamic meditation actually work?
Dynamic meditation is aggressively active. It usually involves stages specifically designed to exhaust the physical body, so the mind has no choice but to drop into stillness.
Wow.
One of the stages involves intense, chaotic breathing as fast and erratically as possible to disrupt your normal controlled patterns.
Like hyperventilating.
Sort of, but consciously. And another stage is pure catharsis. You might literally shake your entire body, jump up and down, scream or cry. You are physically releasing the somatic holding of the emotion. You're burning off the excess adrenaline.
Oh, wow. So you're basically replicating the physical release of an animal shaking off a threat. I've actually read about that, how, like, a gazelle will physically shake violently after escaping a lion to discharge the trauma from its nervous system.
That's the exact mechanism.
Yeah.
You're physically metabolizing the stress hormones. And after you do that chaotic movement, the subsequent stages of the meditation, which involve sudden freezing or silent observation, they become effortless.
Because you've cleared out the static.
Yes, the physical static has been completely cleared. Now, applying this back to the notes, you don't necessarily have to scream and shake in the office break room.
HR probably wouldn't love that.
Probably not. But the principle is what matters. When the inward drama is high, move. Walk briskly. Shake out your arms. Put on headphones and let the heavy, fast music force a different rhythm into your nervous system. You are manually engaging the reset button instead of waiting for the glymphatic system to do it tonight.
That makes profound sense. We hold stress in our jaw, our shoulders, our gut. Moving breaks the physical cage the emotion is trapped in.
Exactly.
Okay, this next part of the notes introduces a massive identity shift. And honestly, I think this is the linchpin of the whole philosophy. The author writes, and I'll just quote it directly, "You are not the mind, you are not the body, you are the board, not the drawing on it. You are clay, not the shape."
That is a staggering concept for a beginner to grasp. It fundamentally rewires how we view ourselves, because we constantly confuse our temporary states with our fundamental identity.
Oh, I do this all the time. I'll say I'm anxious or I'm depressed. I'm literally using the verb to be, staking my core identity on what is just a temporary chemical fluctuation.
It's so common. But let's look at the metaphor of the board and the drawing. Imagine the board is a blank whiteboard. It represents pure awareness, your consciousness.
Okay.
Throughout the day, the external world comes along with a dry erase marker. It draws a picture of a stressful meeting. Then it draws a picture of a fight with a friend. It draws a picture of an unexpected bill.
All the external provocations.
Right. If you identify as the drawing, you feel like you are constantly being created and destroyed. You're entirely at the mercy of whoever holds the marker.
Because if the drawing is erased, I cease to exist.
Exactly.
Oh.
But if you realize you are the board, you understand that these drawings are just temporary ink. They sit on the surface of you. They might be messy, they might be ugly, but they do not change your fundamental nature. The board is never harmed by the ink. It can always be wiped clean.
You are clay, not the shape. If I'm molded into a chaotic, jagged shape today and a smooth bowl tomorrow, I'm still just clay. That relieves so much existential pressure. A bad day is just a temporary shape. But here's where the text introduces a duality that honestly tripped me up a bit.
What part?
Where while the author emphatically tells us to detach from the body, repeating, "You are not the body," yet in the very same breath, the text explicitly states the body is a gift for our visit to this earth. It calls the body our true friend and our true relationship that stays with us from birth until death.
Right, the paradox.
Yeah, it commands us to give the body the best of treatment and feed it well. If I'm just the board and I am not the physical body, why the intense focus on taking immaculate care of it?
It's a beautiful paradox, and the notes synthesize it perfectly. The physical body is a dependent of our internal emotions.
Yeah.
It is the vessel that houses your internal experience.
It's like a deep-sea diving suit.
Oh, I love that. Tell me more.
Well, if I'm a mile underwater, I am not the metal suit. I am the consciousness inside it. But if I don't maintain the pressure valves, if I don't manage the oxygen mix perfectly, the environment will crush me, or I'll start hallucinating from, nitrogen narcosis.
Right.
The condition of the suit dictates my survival and my entire perception of reality down there.
That's a fantastic analogy. If you don't take care of the physical body, if you're sleep deprived, fueled by junk food, and physically stagnant, your nervous system is constantly inflamed.
And when you're inflamed.
When your body's inflamed, your baseline emotional state is going to be anxious and reactive. Treating the body well, feeding it properly, moving it, resting it, is a foundational prerequisite to managing the inward feelings.
Because the vessel shapes the experience.
Exactly. You care for the vessel precisely because its biological state dictates the quality of the internal experience you're capable of having. You cannot easily maintain the calm awareness of the board if your biological hardware is screaming in distress.
Which brings us to the danger zone the text warns about. And man, I fall into this trap constantly.
We all do.
We're sitting here dissecting these profound concepts. A listener might be driving their car right now, hearing this and experiencing this massive aha moment. They feel empowered. They realize, I am the board.
They feel enlightened.
Right. But the author warns that an hour later or a day later, the old self comes running back. The inspiration just evaporates the moment real life hits.
It evaporates because inspiration is not implementation. And the notes are absolutely relentless on this point. They highlight the necessity of repetition and reminding. Knowledge without daily deployment and experimentation leads to zero change.
It's just intellectual entertainment.
Exactly. If you want advanced implementation, you can't just agree with the philosophy. You have to build a step-by-step daily habit based strictly on these recommendations. You have to aggressively practice being the board.
So let's build that practical toolkit right now. Let's give the listener a literal step-by-step guide based on the text.
Let's do it.
The author specifies that in the morning when you wake up is important. Let's explain the mechanics of why that specific moment is the linchpin of the whole day.
It really comes down to brainwave states. When you first wake up, your brain is transitioning from the slow delta waves of deep sleep into theta and alpha waves.
Okay, what does that mean practically?
In these states, your subconscious mind is highly suggestible. The gate between the conscious and subconscious is wide open. Furthermore, the external environment hasn't fully booted up yet. This is the critical, fleeting window to set your internal intention before the external world forces its agenda on you.
But what do most of us do? We reach for the phone, we open our email or social media, or we read the news.
Which is the ultimate pitfall. If you wake up in that highly programmable theta state and immediately look at an angry email from your boss, the external world has just hijacked your nervous system.
What?
It has chosen your emotional state for the day.
Yeah.
You are instantly contradicting reality and playing defense.
Okay, so step one for the listener, morning practice. What's the specific ritual in those first 5 minutes?
Before you touch a screen, before you even get out of bed, you explicitly remind yourself of the identity shift. You run the experiment.
Right.
You say, I am the board, not the drawing. Today, the world will attempt to draw on me. People will be frustrating. Systems will break. But I am the consciousness underneath it, and I choose my internal state.
You're setting the baseline.
Exactly. You make the deliberate conscious choice to set a baseline of calm. You are claiming your agency, putting both hands on your internal steering wheel before anyone else can grab it.
It's proactive defense. I'm sealing the diving suit before I jump into the ocean.
Perfect way to look at it.
Now, what about navigating the middle of the day? The notes give a lot of weight to our physical environment and our breath. They mention taking a walk in the park, by the seaside, or on the beach, watching nature, and engaging in direct breath focus, literally commanding, breath, focus on it.
Yes.
Why these specific actions?
Let's look at the neurobiology of stress again. When we're anxious or provoked, our sympathetic nervous system kicks in, and one of the physiological responses is that our vision literally narrows.
Really? Our vision?
Yes, we get tunnel vision focused intensely on the threat, which, for modern humans, is usually a screen or a person we're arguing with.
Yeah.
We lock our eyes onto it.
Oh, I totally do that. When I'm stressed at my desk, I lean in and stare at my monitor without blinking. I'm just hunched over.
Right. But going into nature, looking at the horizon, watching the ocean, or looking up at the canopy of trees, this forces what neuroscientists call optic flow and panoramic vision.
Okay, optic flow.
Expanding your visual field sends a mechanical signal to your brainstem and amygdala that the environment is safe. It literally downregulates your fight or flight response.
That's incredible. So just by changing how I use my eyes, I'm telling my brain to turn off the alarm bells and the breath focus.
The breath is the ultimate anchor. It's the only vital autonomous function that you can also consciously control. When you do a breath watch, just observing the air entering and leaving your nostrils, you are forcibly dragging your attention away from the chaotic future or the painful past.
And anchoring it in the present.
Anchoring it in the absolute present moment.
So step 2 is creating space during the day for these interventions. If you feel the stress spiking, you don't send the angry Slack message. You do a breath watch. You take 2 minutes to focus entirely on the air going in and out.
Exactly.
If you can, you step outside, use panoramic vision, you look at a tree instead of a spreadsheet.
Yes, and step 3 involves your mental diet. The notes advise listening to good audio and reading good books to support the inward feeling.
Like curating your inputs.
Precisely. Just as you wouldn't feed your physical body garbage if you wanted it to perform like an elite athlete, you cannot feed your mind constant outrage, doom scrolling, and negativity, and expect your internal state to remain peaceful. You have to actively curate what enters your awareness.
We really need to emphasize the mental health benefits of these routines. The text explicitly links these practices to breaking patterns of self-sabotage and dropping bad habits.
It's all connected.
It is, because if you look closely, most of our bad habits, overeating, drinking too much, snapping at our kids, endlessly scrolling social media, they're just maladaptive coping mechanisms. We're frantically trying to soothe the stress caused by contradicting reality.
Exactly. They are attempts to artificially regulate a nervous system that is overwhelmed by external drawings. But if we can master the internal reset, if we can utilize the morning intention, the breath, the nature walks, and the understanding that we're the board, the need for those destructive coping mechanisms just falls away.
You don't need the Band-Aid.
Right. You don't need to numb yourself if you aren't suffering from the illusion of control in the first place.
And the text notes that this ultimately makes our family members happier too, which just makes sense. If I'm chaotic, I'm bringing that storm into my house. My partner and kids have to walk on eggshells. But if I'm regulated, I offer a safe harbor.
It's an emotional contagion. Your calm regulates their nervous systems.
Wow. And this leads us to the final and, frankly, the most advanced concept in the notes.
Yes, the big payoff.
Exactly. To explain how all of this internal mastery translates into actual life changes, the author introduces a beautiful spiritual metaphor. The tortoise.
I love this part.
The text describes the tortoise going inward and calls this action opening a treasure. So let's visualize the tortoise. A tortoise is moving slowly along, and suddenly a threat appears in its environment. A predator, a loud noise, chaos. What does it do? It doesn't try to fight the predator. It doesn't try to control the environment. It completely withdraws its head and all 4 limbs inside its shell. It goes entirely inward into a state of supreme safety and self-containment.
Yes, and this is an ancient spiritual symbol found in many traditions, particularly in yogic texts like the Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Gita describes a person of steady wisdom as one who can withdraw their senses from the objects of the world, just as a tortoise withdraws its limbs.
That's a powerful image.
In our psychological context, the limbs are your reactive senses, your immediate impulse to yell back, to panic, to stress about the future. The tortoise method is the practice of consciously retracting your energetic engagement from the external chaos and resting in the unshakable safety of your internal awareness.
Withdrawing our reactive senses. I can picture exactly how that plays out. Let's say a client sends a blistering, completely unfair email.
We've all been there.
Right. My immediate instinct, my limbs, want to reach out, smash the keyboard, and fire off a defensive reply. The tortoise method is recognizing the threat, pulling my hands off the keyboard, taking a deep breath, and retreating into the shell of my internal state. I am not this email, I am the board.
Exactly. You retract the limbs.
But the text says this action is opening a treasure. Why a treasure? What is the tangible long-term benefit of living this way?
This is where the notes transition from basic stress management to profound life creation. Think about energy. When you are constantly reacting to the external world, you are leaking vital energy. Every time you get angry at traffic, anxious about the news, or frustrated with a coworker, you are bleeding your psychological and physiological life force out into the environment.
So you end the day exhausted, having accomplished nothing.
Precisely. But when you practice the tortoise method, when your internal feelings are deliberately kept high and happy, regardless of external circumstances, you plug the leak. You begin to hoard and generate massive amounts of energy.
Okay, you're charging the battery instead of draining it. And what do we do with all this newly generated energy? Because the text reaches an ultimate conclusion here that sounds almost, I don't know, mystical.
It does sound a bit out there at first.
It says that this energy allows you to manifest. It wakes up your creator to listen to your desires and goals and bring them to you.
It sounds mystical, but there's a profound psychological and neurobiological framework for this.
Walk me through it.
If you are exhausted from fighting reality, you have no cognitive bandwidth left to build the life you actually want. You're just surviving. But when you master your internal state, you change the operational frequency of your brain. Have you ever heard of the reticular activating system, or RAS?
Yes, it's the filter in the brain that decides what information gets noticed and what gets ignored, right? Like when you buy a red car, suddenly you see red cars everywhere.
Exactly. That's your RAS at work.
Yeah.
When you are operating in a state of fear, trying to control the uncontrollable, your RAS is filtering your environment exclusively for threats and obstacles.
Because it's trying to keep you safe.
Right. But when you master the tortoise method, when you hold a high frequency of calm and deliberate intention,
Yeah.
you reprogram your RAS. Suddenly you start noticing opportunities, connections, and solutions that were always there, but that your stressed brain was filtering out.
Oh,
The notes suggest that by mastering the internal, you inherently organize the external. Waking up your creator means stepping into your true agency. You become the author of your life, rather than a frantic character reacting to a script someone else wrote.
that arc is just incredible. I mean, think about where we started. We started with this deeply depressing, almost nihilistic reality that we control almost nothing externally.
Right? The helpless passenger.
We are helpless against the environment, other people, the sudden crises of the day. But by fully accepting that, by completely surrendering the illusion of the steering wheel, we end up at this incredibly empowering promise.
The promise of true agency.
Exactly. That by controlling only our internal state, we can literally dictate how our future unfolds. It's the ultimate paradox. By giving up control of the world, we gain complete control over our lives.
It perfectly encapsulates the journey of true emotional maturity. And it's important to remember this isn't passive acceptance. It's an active, daily, moment-by-moment experiment in emotional selection.
You have to choose it.
Yes. You are experimenting with the hypothesis that your internal state is the foundation of your reality. And the beautiful thing is, it's a testable hypothesis. You can run the experiment tomorrow morning.
We've covered a massive amount of ground today. We've taken these intimate, urgent notes and turned them into a robust blueprint. Let's just briefly recap the journey we've been on for you. First, we confronted the painful illusion of external control and realized that contradicting reality is the root of our suffering.
Right.
We learned to separate the board, our pure awareness, from the drawing, the temporary emotions and stresses of the day. We discussed the critical difference between feeling a valid emotion for survival and letting that emotion move into our guest bedroom for a week.
And we built a comprehensive toolkit around that. We talked about using the reset option, not just waiting for the glymphatic system during sleep, but actively utilizing things like dynamic physical movement, even chaotic breathing concepts, to somatically metabolize stress in the moment.
Right. And we detailed the morning ritual, claiming your agency before touching a screen. We talked about treating the physical body like a deep-sea diving suit that requires immaculate care. We practiced breath focus and using panoramic vision in nature to downregulate the amygdala.
All those physical interventions.
And finally, we learned the tortoise method, withdrawing our reactive energy to build a reservoir of internal power that literally reprograms our brain to spot opportunities and create our own future.
It's a complete system for living. But as the text warned us, it requires repetition. It requires a commitment to not let the old self take the driver's seat the moment a challenge arises. It's a daily practice. You have to wake up every single day and choose to be the board.
Exactly. It's time to put a coin in the real machine and actually start driving. Which brings us to the close of today's deep dive. But we never like to leave you without a provocation.
We want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, building directly on the practical applications we've explored today. If your external reality is truly just a reflection of your internal state, and you now realize you have the power to experiment with choosing that state, what specific feeling are you going to intentionally choose the next time the world throws a crisis at you? When stakes are high, when you get the bad news or that deeply frustrating email arrives, what is the exact shape you will choose for your clay?
Oh, that's a brilliant question to carry with you. Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration of the illusion of control and the reality of our internal power. Remember, you are the board, not the drawing. Keep experimenting, keep resetting, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive. Take care of yourselves.